Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. We begin today in Ghana, where 24 hours after it was announced that President Nana Akufo-Addo has won a second term in office, his main opponent and longtime rival John Mahama has refused to accept the results. Mr. Akufo-Addo secured more than 51% of Monday's vote, while Mr. Mahama got 47% of the vote. Focus on Africa's Sophie Kenya has been following the election from the capital, Accra, and joins me now. Sophie, what's the mood in the streets of Accra since the announcement that the incumbent had won a second term?
Well, Peter, you can hardly believe that this country just held a very, very important election. I wish you could see behind me. 2 days ago, the streets behind me were virtually empty. Today we have the noise, we have the cars, almost the usual traffic jams that you see in Accra are building up. So it looks like Ghanaians have quickly moved on after that announcement by the Electoral Commission of that win by Nana Akufo-Addo. But this is Accra. What about what's happening in other parts of the country? My colleague Thomas Nadi has been finding out in Tamale.
This northern city is the stronghold of the opposition, and the streets are not as busy as they are on a normal day. Yesterday, people here were convinced they had already won the elections, and some of them are truly disappointed. Here's what they had to say.
Very, very disappointed. Yes. We didn't expect it. Even if the MPP as a political party has won the election genuinely, we wouldn't have problem, because election, either you win or you lose. But we don't expect that concocted figures which the chairperson in the person of Jean Mensa, what she has put out to the world, we will never take it.
We see the results the EC chair published. It was published since Monday, 6 o'clock, by Joy News. Joy News was published 51 against 41. What's voting was just going on. So how can she just declare results in favor of MPP?
These results are not what we expected. They have turned them, so now they have to change them. If they do, we will agree. If not, we won't agree.
But the incumbent also has a significant amount of support here. And on Wednesday night, following the announcement of the results, the supporters poured out onto the streets to celebrate. The elections were tightly contested despite a high turnout, and the slim margin shows that the country is divided. Thomas Nadi, BBC News, Tamale in northern Ghana.
Well, Thomas Nadi there in Tamale, but let's move to Kumasi, because our very own Zawadi Mudibo was there during this election. Let's find out what he thought of it.
Just a day after the official declaration of election results here in Ghana, life in most of southern Ghana has gone back to normal. Businesses are open, schools are open, and the wheels of commerce have taken center stage. But as you would expect in what is the ruling party's stronghold, there are still people who will not just stop to celebrate.
My brother and my sister, as now, they are in school as a free education. That is why I'm feeling happy.
We are expecting him to do even more than what he did last time. And there's many more.
Well, only time will tell whether or not the election promises are going to come to fruition. Zawadi Mdibo, BBC, Kumasi, Southern Ghana.
Well, obviously the big question is also, what do observers make of this election? I had a chance to see it with the head of the West African Election Observation Mission, that is the former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who said the election was free and fair. But I began by asking her what struck her the most about this poll.
I believe you have many of our citizens in other countries have been watching this process very carefully, very intently. The young people, let me say a word about that. The young people are the ones that went to the poll in numbers. Our nations are young in Africa, and the young people are demanding that these processes of free, fair, peaceful elections are maintained and are respected. And in this particular case of Ghana, the larger numbers were young people and women. And we applaud that. The elections were free because we saw all the voters going to the polls uninhibited. Fair because those who wanted to vote voted. There was no hindrance for them. One might add transparent. We saw citizens, who in the proper distancing were able to observe the vote as it went on. They were able to observe the counting of the ballots at the end of the day. So that's transparent. It was peaceful.
Well, that's former Liberian president, the head of the ECOWAS Observer Mission here in Ghana. Well, one of the main presidential candidates, John Dramani Mahama, is yet to concede defeat. So we are all wondering, what does this mean? So with me now is political analyst Dr. Mame Jando from the University of Ghana. Thank you for taking time to talk to us on Focus on Africa. A challenge is looming now. John Dramani Mahama saying he's going to go to the courts. What does this mean for this whole electoral process?
Thank you very much, Sophie. Well, this means that if the opposition candidate says he's going to go to court, then he has to do that within the next 21 days per our 1992 Constitution. So he has that legal, that right to go to court if he thinks the elections, if he thinks they are disputed or they are flawed.
So that's where he goes from here. He's got 21 days to go and lodge the legal challenge.
Yes,
all right. President Akufo-Addo has won with a slim majority in Parliament. Help us understand what that means when it comes to, for example, passing bills. What kind of challenge might he face this time around?
Okay. Well, this time around, he's going to have to work to bring about more consensus. I think it may look like a challenge at first, but I think it gives the opportunity for bipartisanship to be.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, that means that both members of parliament on both sides, that is the two major parties. Now there's going to be one independent candidate, but both sides would have to come to a consensus, have to try to look at the different policies and laws as they are on their own merits and vote on those policies. And so they might have to vote not always according to their party, but, especially the president's party would have to work a little bit harder to negotiate. Yes.
That's what I said, because that was what I was going to ask you. How difficult is this going to be, really?
To negotiate and bargain and, get people on their side so that they're
the ones who are hard stance
and the bills.
Yeah. All right. In the event that the ruling party does not get the majority in Parliament, you touched on it a little, but what is the right way for the president-elect, the president right now, to go about this? How do you think he should negotiate? What is it that he can bring to the table to convince the members of parliament to work with him together for Ghanaians?
Okay, thank you. I think the president-elect, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, has already begun to do that. I mean, right from last night when he gave his speech, after the elections were declared, the results were declared, he said that he was going to work with Ghanaians and that it was time to unite and get forward with, move the country forward. And so I think he's willing to do that. He's going to put his policies out there and to the opposition as well, and have to work. There's going to have to be some behind-the-scenes work as well, in the event that his party does not have a majority. Because in our constitution, it also says if you have an even number of votes on each side, then you cannot really pass the policy. So you do need some people to cross over to your side to be able to pass any
just
law.
Wondering,
yes,
you know, in your opinion, how does the president reconcile the country right now, given how close this poll look like?
Well, you know, the president,
people.
yes, the people. The president won with a majority, with 50%. You know, the constitution says 50% plus one, and he got 51.59%. So I think it's important that the people see that he has won the elections, and we're willing to work with him. And I think how does he do that, reconcile? Well, he would have to speak to, you know, cross over a bit, speak to the people, come out and speak to the people about his policies moving forward. Secondly, also reach out to the majority, the minority, or the opposition party, which may be now even, you know, or even in the possibility that it is a divided government, as we call it in the United States. This is in fact, this is unique. If it happens that way, it would be the very first time that we have a president from a different party and the majority from another party, and that we call a divided government. And so there's going to have to be a lot of negotiation, a lot of explaining, consensus building. I think it really gives the opportunity for consensus building. And yes.
All right, we have to leave it there. Dr. Mame Jando from the University of Ghana. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much
for taking time to talk to us here at Focus in Africa. Thank you. Well, Peter, there you have it. There's a lot of work ahead for President Nana Akufo-Addo in terms of reconciling the country and how to work with the other fold of Ghana. Back to you, Peter.
Many thanks, Sophie Kenya, there live from Accra. Thanks, great